All right, we have a few people joining us already. Thanks so much. We're just going to take a minute or two to let people trickle in and click the join with audio buttons that they've got on their computers or devices back home. We'll give it just a few more seconds as the numbers seem to be flying up real quick, which is great. Hope everyone at home is doing well and staying safe and healthy. We've got a fun program for you tonight. We'll talk a lot about communications and writing and the different ways you can pursue that here at Syracuse. It looks like we've got most of us have joined already, so I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jake Dietrich. I'm Assistant Director of Admissions at Syracuse University, and I have the privilege of hosting moderating, I suppose, a panel for us tonight with some of my amazing colleagues who are going to talk about different ways in which you can pursue communications and writing through different departments and programs here at Syracuse University. They'll take about 45 minutes, all things said and done, and then we'll be sure to open up the question and answer box at the end for the last 15 minutes. So if you're at home and you see that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and you have a question that pops into your head, please feel free to type it in at any point and we'll be sure to answer it. I'm joined by my colleague Marcus in the background, who's also going to be typing in answers as we go through this. But we're answering questions both in that chat box and in person and on your screen. So keep your eyes and ears open and we'll have a fun hour here. So I want to start with introductions. And on my screen, we have Rachel, Iman, and then Wes. So we'll go in that order if that's all right. Just want to go ahead and say who you are and what you do at Syracuse real quick.
Easiest part of my job, saying who I am. Hi, my name is Rachel Skipper. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Recruitment for the College of Arts and Sciences and the Maxwell School. So if you come to our virtual information session, you might have heard from me before. You've almost certainly heard from me via email before, whether you know it or not, maybe behind a marketing email or an annoying arts and sciences email in your inbox. So hopefully this is not the last time that we will chat, but yes, I'm here to represent the communications and writing programs within the College of Arts and Sciences and Maxwell School.
Perfect, Iman, if you want to go next.
All right, my name is Iman Wilkinson. I am a recruitment specialist at the College of Visual and Performing Arts. So you may have seen me in one of our information sessions. It's just kind of my job to help you navigate, applying to Syracuse and the VPA.
Hi, everybody. My name is Wes Whiteside. I'm the Associate Director for Recruitment and Diversity at the Newhouse School of Public Communications. Some of you have probably attended one of my information sessions, or if you haven't, I do one every Monday and Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and you can sign up for those on the admissions website, which we will talk about. But I'm so glad to be here and so happy to meet you and your families as well.
Yeah, and thanks to the three of you for taking time out of your evening to join us for this tonight. So I think we're going to go ahead and just start ourselves off here with the College of Visual and Performing Arts.
All righty, so I'll start off with our Communication and Rhetorical Studies program, or CRS as we like to call it here on campus. So this is a Bachelor of Science degree that covers all forms of human communication. So the number one requirement that all employers are seeking are communication skills. So CRS will pose the question that while we all communicate as humans, do we communicate effectively? And so the program really focuses on the ability to communicate clearly, effectively, and persuasively, which means that your voice will be heard and you will make a difference. So some of the core classes that students can take range from presentational speaking, rhetoric, public advocacy, writing, along with critical thinking skills. The core classes can be utilized in a number of different fields and be applied to almost anything. The flexibility of the curriculum really allows for our students to double major if they want to, or maybe add on a number of minors very easily. So CRS students have countless opportunities to pursue their passion for communication on campus and throughout the world. This major is great for students who perhaps want to pursue multiple interests while they're here on campus. Our students have interned at different places like record labels, magazines, news stations, political campaigns, and many more. So the other programs within VPA that kind of have communications at the forefront are going to be the Bachelor of Fine Arts in Communications Design, Art Photography, and Film. Go on to the next slide. All right, so our graduates go on to successful careers in law, education, business, politics, entertainment, public advocacy, public affairs, just to name a few. So let's talk about some of our notable alumni. So first up, we have Emmy, class of '85. She is a plus size supermodel who actually started Fashion Without Limits on campus for our design students. Let me tell you a little bit about Fashions Without Limits. So Fashion Without Limits was really started to promote the designs in sizes 12 and up. So as a part of the curriculum, our students within the fashion design major have to design these pieces in sizes 12 and up. And it's really great that it's a part of the curriculum because it said that students who don't design for the everyday average people, they're leaving about $6 billion on the table. So we're really trying to equip our students to be successful in any avenue they choose to pursue once they leave us. Then next we have Sarah Boogan, who is a recent graduate, class of 2019. Her last semester on campus, she interned with New York State Senator Chuck Schumer, and she explained how the skills she gained within CRS really helped her play a primary role in, writing to constituents and really the outreach letters to the community. Next, we have Evan Robinson, class of 2012. He is the president and co-founder of New York on Tech, which is a nonprofit organization that brings technology to underrepresented and underprivileged students in New York City. Then we have Graham Warner, class of 2002. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Deutsche Bank's Global Transaction. And then we have Nikki Mayo, class of 2001. She is a multimedia journalist. And then lastly, we have Chapin Springer, class of 2004, and he is the Communication Officer for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So, as you can see, our graduates go into a number of successful and diverse fields and careers. And that's going to be it for me. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them for you guys.
All right, let's see if I can be as engaging and well-spoken as Iman, not sure. So I'm again representing the College of Arts and Sciences and the Maxwell School. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the kinds of programs that we offer or our place on campus, because our name is not quite as descriptive as visual and performing arts. Arts and Sciences is a very broad school within Syracuse University. We are by far the largest, so 30% of students at Syracuse University are enrolled in either the College of Arts and Sciences or the Maxwell School. Together, we work as a team to provide 50 undergraduate majors, so many options within Arts and Sciences and Maxwell. Arts and Sciences focuses on somewhat of what you would think, the hard sciences, for example, chemistry, biochemistry, physics, math are all sciences that are covered by the College of Arts and Sciences. And then our arts, which are a little bit different than what you would expect from VPA, are things like the humanities, religions, ethics. We have a fine arts program. So they are not as much the creative, hands-on, or performing arts, but more of the fine arts in the College of Arts and Sciences. The Maxwell School focuses on social justice as a main part of their curriculum. So we take those social science programs and combine them with the fine arts, humanities, and STEM programs within the College of Arts and Sciences to provide you this huge list of majors. So today, for our purposes, I'm just going to be focusing on the 3 majors that you see on your screen because these are those that relate most closely to writing and communications fields. So the first is English and Textual Studies, then we'll cover Writing and Rhetoric and Communication Sciences and Disorders. English and Textual Studies and Writing and Rhetoric might seem a little bit similar to you. So the main difference between these 2 majors is that English and Textual Studies is for students who really want to focus on analyzing and interpreting and writing about texts. So if you're a student who loves to read, likes your history classes maybe in high school, enjoys writing, but would be more interested in writing about or analyzing what other people have written, both from historical context through modern contexts, English and Textual Studies is a good program for you. So their students are trained to interpret historical and modern texts. So anything from ancient manuscripts to classical writing, novels, Greek mythology, up through modern texts like websites, podcasts, blogs. So they're really running the gamut, but what their job is to go in, identify what that text is about, find out what that author was maybe trying to communicate, and then communicate about that to someone else. So a really research-driven type of analytical skills are being developed in this program. Importantly, they have two tracks within the majors. So basically you'll be an English and Textual Studies major, but you will have a focus, if you want to have a focus, on creative writing or film and screen studies. So if either of those two topics are interesting to you, but you want to focus more on the kind of English literature interpretation side of things, either of these tracks within the major would be a good option. Writing and rhetoric is different from English and Textual Studies because in the Writing and Rhetoric program, you're the one generating those texts. So if you're more the writer, if you are someone who's preparing to go to law school, for example, and you want to develop your rhetorical skills, the Writing and Rhetoric program is a good fit. They learn to write for different purposes. So the entire point of this major is to learn how to make an argument. And that could be in the form of a 5-paragraph essay, which you all are very familiar with writing in high school, but maybe also through other forms like graphics, charts and figures, through podcasts, through blogs, through speeches. So writing and rhetoric is all about, if I want to get this message across, how would I do it differently for different audiences? And what do different audiences expect from me? And you can see that those different topics would be relevant to a bunch of different careers, which I'll cover at the end of my little spiel here. So communication sciences and disorders is probably the huge outlier from all of the programs that we're going to talk to you about tonight. And the main reason I want to focus on it in this presentation is that a lot of students who are interested in writing or in literature or in analysis think that the communication sciences and disorders program is a good fit for them, and then they learn what it actually is. So I just want to tell you all what it actually is. Communication sciences and disorders is for people who want to do one of two things: become a speech pathologist or become an audiologist. So this is a very intensive career development type major that prepares students specifically for those two careers: speech pathology and audiology. So these people are working in speech and hearing clinics. They are studying linguistics. They're learning about language production and where hearing and language can go wrong in terms of developmental disorders, for example, or in aging populations. So if you're interested in kind of the science behind communication, physically how people communicate and how some people have issues communicating compared to others, then the communication sciences and disorders program is for you. But it is a STEM program. It is not a writing program. It's not an English program. It's not a literature program. So just for those of you who might have an interest in that kind of STEM aspect of writing and of communication, the communication sciences and disorders, CSD, might be a good major for you. So taken together, these three majors provide students with a lot of different options for career paths. I think that's true for probably Iman, me, and Wes, is that these kinds of skills are very well respected and desired across a bunch of different career paths. But for our students, we see students going into education. That could be high school education or at the college level, working with literature analysis or writing skills. Public relations is really common, especially for students who pair one of the majors on the screen with a major from the Maxwell School, like political science or policy studies. We see students going into publishing and into editing, which I think is a very natural fit, and you can all see where that would translate. Also into marketing and brand management, which is where we have some overlap with Wes and probably with Iman too. That kind of language skills and rhetorical skills that you need to do marketing and brand management are really well trained in these programs. And then lastly, we have students going all the time from these programs into law school and medical school. So law school, I think the writing and rhetoric program is a very natural fit. It's certainly something you'll be doing during law school. But if you're a student who's stuck between this interest in communication and an interest in STEM, you don't need to feel stuck. You can absolutely take one of these majors in arts and sciences, and we will help you prepare also to go on to medical school afterward. So don't be nervous about having more than one interest, and don't be stressed about committing to one academic program or one pathway. In the College of Arts and Sciences, we really encourage our students to pick up multiple different programs. 75% of our students will pick up at least a minor, if not two majors and a minor, or two majors and two minors. It's very common. So this should just be a jumping off point for you. You know what your interests are, you know what skills you have, you know what you enjoy doing. Maybe it would be a good idea to start with one of these programs and then see where that takes you within the College of Arts and Sciences and the Maxwell School. That's all for me, and I'll pass it off to Wes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel and Iman. I'm going to talk to you about the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications. So the school actually has 8 majors. And the way our majors are set up, they are in ways connected in some ways, but they're also different in ways too. So as you see the list of all of our majors, I'm not going to go too in depth in them because there are 8 majors and I don't want to spend a lot of time here going into the majors, and I know a lot of you have questions, but I can kind of briefly just chat about some of them. So majors that are connected. So we'll start with what we say are persuasive majors, and that's advertising and public relations. So in a way of trying to get you to buy something or persuade you into something, in a certain thing. Both majors actually have a campaigns and a research class where they will bring in real companies to work with our students. They work on their campaign and they work on their research for them. Advertising, it actually has a few tracks of what we call an advertising emphasis. So we have the creative track. So basically, if you want to be the person, if you ever watch, the Geico commercial and you want to write what the gecko says, that would be creative. Then you have a strategic track. So if you want to be the ones to say, where is this ad going? Where is it going to go on TV? Is it going to go into a certain publication? And then you kind of have more of the finance track of like, how much is it going to cost? Where public relations is a little bit more subtle. So if you think about currently right now, we're seeing a lot of companies that are releasing statements in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement, or for people in the Black and Brown community or marginalized community, that is more than likely coming from their public relations department who are writing those for them. And the same thing could be into things such as like with COVID-19 and the messages that you've been seeing from different companies too, that it would be a part of public relations. Then we have what we say our news majors, and that's broadcast and digital journalism, or BDJ as our students like to call it. And then magazine, news, and digital journalism. So in an area of covering the news, whether it's local, whether it's national, whether it's international, whether it's sport, whether it's entertainment, whether it's weather or business and economics, that is all kind of your area of what we say is news. Broadcast and digital journalism is more so for somebody who wants to be on air. So if you watch the local news, or if you watch the national news, or you watch different outlets of people covering the news, or even sports. So play-by-play, someone who's in the booth with the person doing play-by-play or color, or those who have television shows talking about sports. I think about, First Take, and you see, Stephen A. Smith, but then you see Undisputed with Shannon Sharp, and then also Skip Bayless, right? So that would kind of be in your area, or people like Oprah who have their own show to sit down and interview people as well. So that would be broadcast. So actually the first course that you take in broadcast journalism, because some people say, hey, I want to be on the news. I want to be the next, anchor for my news. We actually teach you a writing class. That's the first course that our students will take in BDJ, because we teach you how to write as a journalist first before you then are on air. And then getting to your sophomore, junior, and senior year, you'll start doing stories and being more on air, covering the news. And then senior year, your capstone, you actually cover a whole newscast. So we teach you not only how to be on air, how to do the news, how to do sports, how to do weather, but also things in behind the scenes of how a newscast is ran. Magazine, news, and digital journalism. So we had a magazine journalism program, and then we had a newspaper online journalism program. But if you are probably familiar to both, they are now becoming less print and more online. So we combine those two programs together, and then we've added this digital journalism aspect to it. And why did we do that? Well, the way that outlets are going, where if you have subscribed to a magazine or to a news outlet, everything is on, a lot of it is online. So that digital piece is teaching our students of how to create a website, or now that you're seeing people who are creating websites where you can fact check things and have specific information that's out there for people to look at. Or in digital journalism, you're seeing things such as 360-degree cameras, drones, augmented reality, virtual reality is all coming to play there. So magazine, time is a little bit different from news. Magazine is a little bit spread out, where you may do maybe one article a month, or you may do 2 articles a month, or you might have just one issue that comes out, within a couple of weeks. Where news, it's pretty much daily. So if you are online and you are looking at like the New York Times, or you're looking at Yahoo News and whatever your news outlets that you follow, where someone is doing a story daily, whether it's, with COVID-19, whether it's what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, whether it's what's happening in your area of sports, and you have someone who is covering that with what we consider a beat, that would be a part of news. Then we have what we say our entertainment majors, and that is photography, which has 2 tracks. There's a commercial and there is an advertising and commercial track for photography. So if someone wants to have their own studio, I'm thinking kind of like in your area of fashion, where a lot of our students go in that area, or things such as like individual portraits, family portraits, kind of doing in that area as far as taking photos, that would be that track. And then you have the photojournalism track for those who are taking photos for like National Geographic, the New York Times, Forbes magazine, and you kind of name it. Those are those photographers which are there. Then you will see the program. It's the Bandier program for recording and entertainment industries. That program was created by Marty Bandier, who was the owner of Sony over 12 years ago. And he created that program with the notion of, for a student who is interested in music, but might not want to be an artist, or who also don't play an instrument, but still may want to be a record label, create a record label, actually be a producer, work with an artist and be their manager, work in A&R, or work at a concert venue, or work with an artist as far as like being their publicist, or working with an artist to create their own tour. Right, that kind of all falls into that area for entertainment and in entertainment and recording industries. And then there's the television, radio, and film program, TRF, as our students like to call it, where you can choose in between 3 areas, whether you want to go more television, whether you want to go radio, where more you want to go film. And then into those areas are other spots where our students find themselves in, such as I want to be a screenwriter. I want to be a screenwriter for film, so I want to create my own film. Or I want to be a screenwriter for a TV show like Modern Family. Or I want to write for a news radio outlet and create a radio show. The business side of all 3, such as how much it's going to cost for us if we're going to do a certain shot for special effects, or how much is it going to cost for us, how much money do we have in our budget to create this film or create this television show. And then the other area would be like if you want to kind of do things as far as be right in front of the camera. We have people who do acting as well as screenwriting, more so doing the business side of things too in radio, television, radio, and film. And then lastly, you see graphic design. Graphic design is a nice mix of all of our majors. So they do a little bit of everything with advertising, broadcast, magazine, photography, so on and so forth, but more in a visual aspect, such as when you look at a billboard and you see an ad and someone created that ad, it's probably a graphic designer. Or if you're ever in a stadium and you see graphics come across the screen on the Jumbotron, someone in graphics. Or with you picking up your cell phone, and if it's a iPhone or Android or Google phone, and when you open that up and you see the apps that are all kind of on that home screen, that's also all a part of graphic design too. Those students work with drones, they work with augmented reality and virtual reality. Like I said, they're kind of more in your area of visual things too. But if you want to learn a little bit more about it, please attend our session, like I said, at 4 o'clock, Monday and Wednesday. And we actually have some students there too, so they can go a little bit more in depth with those majors. So you can go to the next slide, Jake. With Newhouse, we also have 3 dual programs. So we have a dual with the College of Arts and Sciences. So as Rachel was saying, if you are interested in kind of going more in the science route, or if you want to go more of the liberal arts route, you can add majors such as political science and broadcast and journalism, or magazine and psychology. We see students in advertising and sociology add those things together. And then we also have a dual with the Whitman School of Management. So if you're interested in doing business, something in like marketing, management, entrepreneurship, finance, accounting, we have a dual major with them. And then the last dual program that we have is with the iSchool, the School of Information Studies, where they teach information management and technology. They teach data analytics. Also, they teach like cybersecurity or startup companies as well. So those are 3 dual programs. With Newhouse, if you're just singly enrolled with the Newhouse School, we require our students to have a minor, and there's over 100 minors to choose from. And if you are a dual major, you do not have to have a minor. But some of the places where our students will find minors are College of Arts and Sciences. You can even minor in the College of Visual Performing Arts as well. You could do, some of our students have added CRS as their minor. We've even seen students go to the David B. Falk College of Sport and Human Dynamics. So if a lot of you have probably watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, you probably saw David Falk in there, who was Michael Jordan's agent. That is the David B. Falk College of Sport and Human Dynamics, where they teach child and family studies, sport management, sport analytics, nutrition science as well, where our students have found minors within those programs too. You can go to the next slide. And then lastly, we do have some special programs. So with Syracuse University in general, you have the opportunity to go abroad and go to another country. But specifically with Newhouse, we do have the opportunity for our students to go to New York and LA. And when you go to New York and LA, it's more so geared towards your Newhouse classes. So you'll be taking your Newhouse courses, but also you have an internship. The internship is required in both of those programs. So you do your internship half the day, and then you take your Newhouse classes in the evening. So, but the thought is for our students to go there and really, you know, some people ask was, which one should I go to? I always say to students, where are you thinking about working after you graduate? If you're thinking about working in New York, do the New York City semester. You're thinking about working out in LA or the West Coast, do the LA semester as well. Because as I said, the internship is a part of that process, and you kind of get to live out there, see what it's like, and see if you like it or not. I would say the majority of our students who do the New York and LA semesters, they typically go their senior year, and here's why. Jobs are looking, you know, especially when you do your internship, the last time that you have been there was the last time, you know, you've had the opportunity to maybe meet with, you know, a director or person who's a CEO or person who's a manager. And that's also probably the time that you're looking to apply for jobs. So if you go there your senior year, you know, a lot of students will go there their second semester in the spring, finish, apply for the job. Often students receive a job offer, and then they just transition in to start working in New York and LA. And that is it. So thank you for listening to me about the Newhouse School.
No, thank you so much. And thanks to Iman and Rachel and Wes. Thank you. I know you can't hear everyone clapping, but I'm going to assume everyone's at home clapping. And I actually, before we jump into the Q&A, this is a little selfish of me, I want to take just 5 minutes to talk a little bit more about Syracuse as a whole, because, you know, you've heard about VPA and Arts and Sciences and Newhouse and gotten a feel for some of the majors within that, but there's actually 200 or so majors here at Syracuse and 100 minors. And so while we have 9 different undergraduate schools and colleges, they work very closely together, as Wes kind of hinted with some of those dual programs. And I know we have a few questions in the chat from students about majoring and minoring outside of your home school or college, which we will get to. But ultimately, I think it's important to give you a little context about who we are as an institution. We have about 15,000 undergraduate students. And so we're not a really small school. We're not a really big school. I think a lot of people see us as middle of the road. The average class size here is only 26, and in some cases that's much smaller. And the student to faculty ratio here is 15-1. And so what you have with Syracuse is this place where you're going to have the resources of a community that has 15,000 students and great faculty and professors, research opportunities, business connections, but you'll have the feel of a small school where it's a lot easier to get access to those things and develop those relationships because you have that personal connection and attachment to the campus. And so that's really how we aim to help students, no matter what department or program they're involved in here, is balancing those big school resources with the feel of a small school. Then one other way we do that is through different clubs and organizations. There's over 300 different student clubs and orgs. Some are a cappella groups, some are engineering groups, some are broadcasting groups. There's a lot of different cool ones. Maybe if Rachel and Iman and Wes have a few favorites that they know of, they can give us a shout out in a minute or two. But another important note, and I know we have a question about this too, is that each of the schools and colleges has their own career service center as well. So when we talk about professionalism and job connections, you're going to have a team that specializes within your industry and field rather than going to a one-size-fits-all type of system. And that'll allow students to help make those connections and find jobs and internship opportunities, not only in their field, but in a specific fit within that, and in a job or internship program that they know is a good fit for what their specific goals are, rather than just what any student in their major might be interested in. And I think having that personal connection allows us to make sure that students really have that sense of fulfillment, both through their work off campus and on campus, in their classes and in their extracurricular activities. So that's a little bit more about us. I'm going to take just a minute here to open up the questions that we have here that you've typed in, but actually something that we thought of earlier. Iman, I know you'd mentioned a lot about our alums and talked a little bit about CRS, which was really fantastic. I was wondering if you'd be able to hit just a little bit more on the interdisciplinary focus within CRS, because I know a big draw for that program for a lot of students is the flexibility in the curriculum and being able to try out a lot of different things. Could you speak to that a little more?
Yeah, so the philosophy is kind of approaching communications from a broader angle and kind of making it fit to you and tailor making it to your, what you want to use it for. So the idea is that you'll learn the skills that CRS is offering you and be able to apply it to what you have and what you want to do. I did see we have a question about, how are we approaching it from a creative and like a design side, because it's kind of like, out of place in the College of Visual and Performing Arts. But a little funny story behind that is it actually grew out of our drama program. But like I said, now it's sustaining itself as a program that really focuses on the whole idea of communications. So most of our students, like I say, will have another major or a few minors. I didn't say this, I'm an alum of Syracuse and I am a CRS alum. When I was on campus, I had a few minors. I had a minor in theater and African American studies. So I kind of got, was able to use communication to really kind of foster what I wanted to do in the theater realm, but not be so much like all about theater. So our students really go into different fields. We've had some people go into like, law or, politics if they wanted to do that as well. But like I said, it's this a really philosophy that, it's broader and then you tailor make it to what you want it to.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I'm just gonna knock this question out of the way real quick. What year do you need to declare your major? Just to highlight this, no matter what your program, with very few exceptions, you declare your major by the end of sophomore year. And so once you get here, you'll have time to take classes in a variety of different schools and colleges, no matter which program is your home program. And you'll take a liberal arts core curriculum and make sure that you're taking math, science, history, English, lots of different things. And that allows you to have that kind of more well-rounded approach to your academics. And it also gives you the time to try out different things and see what you like, what you don't like, so that you can, in that first 2 years, take your time before you have to, settle into something and feel obliged to declare a major. So you'll have time for that. Now, a few questions, Wes, I'd like to point your way. We talked a little bit about career services, but it seems like students are wondering a little bit more specifically about what the job process or hiring market looks like right now for Newhouse students, and which I know is a bigger question than it might seem, because it's going to be different for every single program. But I was just wondering, maybe more broadly, if you could speak a little bit about kind of Newhouse's Career Center specifically and some of the cool opportunities that might have come through there in the more recent way anyway.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I did, I provided everybody, that's the, you'll see in the chat box, the link to our Career Services Center. So please click on that. Our Career Service Center, they work with students from freshman year all the way to senior year. And we also have graduate and PhD students. So they work with them as well. You will come in contact with our Career Services Center as early as your freshman year. There are two classes that every Newhouse student has to take. And one of them is called Communication in Society, and you'll take this your freshman year. And career services will actually come in and they will do what's called Career Day. And everyone has to attend. And in Career Day, you have to attend at least 2 sessions. One session kind of based off of what your major is. And then the other session would be kind of more geared towards what you're thinking about doing. Now, I know one student had asked, do you have to have a major when you come in? You can apply to Newhouse as undeclared. And as Jake said, you have until the sophomore year to decide on what your major is going to be. So that's when you'll come in contact with career services. They'll look at your resume. They'll do cover letters with you. Also, they'll allow you to use their alumni database, where we have thousands of alums in a database, and you can reach out to any of them. If you have a specific question such as what's the job market like, or are you hiring? Are you looking for any interns to come in? Or if it's, hey, I just had a question in regards to, I'm thinking about going in the area of advertising. Can you talk to me about the advertising field, right? What do you do on a daily basis, or what should I be doing to be able to be successful? When it comes to numbers and stats, our statistics, you won't see Newhouse's statistics until typically about 4 to 5 months after graduation. And here's why. Well, number one, with COVID, right? That's going to be a big outlier for us now. But even before COVID, it was still within the 4 to 5 month area, because in communications, the job market is a little bit different from, let's say, your sciences or your engineering and your business and your and some of the other programs, where someone might start off as an intern, or they might get actually be a full-time position. So typically we kind of wait within that, like I said, that 4 to 5 months, and then we reach out to our students to say, hey, where are you? And then they'll say, hey, I have a full-time job, or I'm working part-time, or I'm actually going to grad school. I decided to go to grad school, or I picked up an internship that's paid at this time. But like I said, the Career Services Center, they will work with you and kind of go more into depth and try to help you find wherever it is that you want to go to.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate to have some firsthand experience with Newhouse's career service work that they do. I'm a graduate student in public relations myself, and so I can tell you I just got out of a 2-day program last weekend with a lot of Newhouse alumni on equity, diversity, inclusion, and they talked a lot about networking and diversity within the public communications field and finding jobs and internships for young students coming out of that. I think I got maybe 40 new LinkedIn connections in the span of 3 minutes doing these types of things. I mean, jokes aside, like, this is a really active and engaged group of alumni, not just at Newhouse, but across Syracuse as a whole. And they're a huge part of how we help set students up for success going forward, and making sure that even in their first year here, that they're connecting with jobs, internships, and other opportunities. And I'd also note that we have an online platform called Handshake, which is accessible to all students and serves as a really unique tool, kind of like a LinkedIn, but just for Syracuse folks, for our platform anyway. And it helps kind of cater jobs and posts and internships specifically to you and your interests. So you can create a profile saying, these are the things that I like to do and the places I would like to do it. And you'll get an email every week that shows you 6 jobs within that realm that you've defined that could be a great fit for you. And so it helps make the career search and the job search a little bit more accessible for a lot of our students who are also trying to balance that career search with academics and the commitments they have on campus. And so Rachel, I'd like to shift gears from professionalism a little bit, just to talk briefly about the liberal arts core curriculum, because I know I mentioned that earlier. I was wondering if, as our resident arts and sciences representative, you'd be able to talk a little bit more about what the liberal arts means to us here at Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a good question for you all to be thinking about, regardless of whether you're even interested in applying to Syracuse at the end of all this, is what are the liberal arts? You're going to hear that term over and over again, and rarely do we zoom out and talk about what we mean by that. So the liberal arts, or a liberal arts curriculum, or a liberal arts school or college, refers to the idea that you get your education in all different areas. And I know that some of you might think, oh, I just did that in high school, right? I had to take science, and I had to take math, and I had to take language, and I had to take, English even if I didn't want to. But in college, we still value that because your employer is going to value that ability to talk about topics from an interdisciplinary standpoint. In other words, to understand an idea from different perspectives, and also just to have some background knowledge in the things that the people who are, working with you at your job or in other companies know about. So we want our students to graduate and be well-versed in different areas, and also let them focus and drill down on a specific topic that's interesting to them. So your major, and even the school or college in which you enroll at Syracuse, is that specific topic that you're going to drill down in. But we also ask our students to complete the liberal arts core. And the reason that Jake pitched this to me is because the College of Arts and Sciences is where you're going to be coming for a lot of that liberal arts stuff. We have, like I mentioned, a lot of academic programs, and we bring in students from all the different schools and colleges to take those classes outside of their broadcast and digital journalism classes, right? Outside of their CRS courses. They'll also have to take some STEM classes, for example, some writing classes, a social justice and kind of social awareness component. So I can post this, I think, for students to see, a link to the liberal arts core. I'm not sure, but basically it composes a set of coursework that we want our students to be taking, and you can tailor it, but you will have to take, and this will not be an issue for anyone in this chat, you'll have to take a writing course. You'll all love that. You'll also need to take an analytical reasoning type course. So quantitative analytical skills. How do we take numbers that we see and translate that into a meaningful thing? Or how can we take a meaningful statement and communicate that in numbers? That's an important skill for you all to have, so you'll have that quantitative or analytical skill set. We like our students to choose either a math or a language, unless for your major it's obvious which of those you should be choosing. You may have some flexibility in that. And then, like I mentioned, there's also kind of a social and ethical thinking or awareness component where we want you to be taking courses that inform you about how to communicate across cultures, or how to understand someone else's viewpoint, and you're going to be taking courses in that at Syracuse. So yes, the liberal arts is the ability to understand an issue from multiple perspectives. Those are some of the different perspectives we'd like you to have. Those are things you will all be having to take courses on at Syracuse, but you'll get to choose with some flexibility which courses you take that fulfill that requirement.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry, Wes. Go
Jake,
ahead.
I just wanted to chime in what Rachel was saying about the liberal arts core. So Newhouse, we're an accredited communication school. So a part of our accreditation states that half of what you take for your overall Newhouse degree has to be in liberal arts. So our students are taking the majority of their classes in the College of Arts and Sciences. So like Rachel was saying, is having a broadcast and digital journalism major. But also at the same time, we like to say to our students is, yes, you're in communications, but what are you going to communicate about? So I'm a broadcast and digital journalist, but I want to talk about, issues that are happening in, specific areas. So I could pick up a political science, either dual major or minor, so I can find something outside that as well. So Newhouse, we do require some of our courses, like I said, within liberal arts, and our students love that because it is getting you out of your communications courses and learning different things where you can kind of put it together to make this very broad kind of major, whatever it is that you choose within Newhouse.
Right. Thanks so much. It's pretty much exactly what I was starting to get into too. So that works out well, better from you. I want to give a quick final notice here. If you have any questions, type them in now, just so we can try and get to them in the next couple minutes. We have one last one we're going to hit on before we wrap up. But I wanted to draw your attention to the screen for one last time before we get to this last question, just to note that our contact information is here. And so if you have something that you didn't get a chance to hit on tonight, feel free to send us a message. All of us are very responsive to email and wonderful. And I just called us wonderful. Wonderful at responding to email and happy to respond. Not that we're not all wonderful as well. But thank you again so much for joining us. And actually this last question is going to be for Iman. If you wouldn't mind talking, I know we had a student ask, could you please go more in depth into the communications design major and what careers coming out of this major could look like?
All right, so our communications design major is going to be a Bachelor of Fine Arts. It's going to be different from everything we've talked about today. So with a BFA degree, you'll have 75% of your time spent in studio-based classes and only 25% dedicated to your outside academics. And then that's kind of different because we don't have those required math and liberal arts classes. You're only required to take 2 semesters of writing. Once you're done with those 2 semesters of writing, you can take any other academic. So we don't give you any specific parameters in that academic quarter. So for communications design, it's basically graphic design plus, as we like to refer to it as. So you're going to be learning things within graphic media like illustration, photography, and typography, but you'll also be learning things like advertising, marketing, and publications. So some of the jobs we've seen our students go into are going to be, they're going to be graphic designers for either games, magazines, or they go into design firms. And then I'd like to touch on, lastly, your portfolio that you have to submit, and basically your 2-day portfolio show at the end in your senior year. So throughout your years, you're going to be collecting your work as you're in your studio-based classes, and then you'll get a 2-day portfolio show in New York City where we invite area industry professionals to go ahead and look at your portfolio, and you get to network with them. And then that's how some of our students also build the relationship to graduating and then moving into their career fields. That's gonna be it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know we have one last question that's came in, so we'll hit on that for just a moment. And Wes, it's towards you. What does the film major look like in Newhouse? And I'm going to selfishly jump in for a second here where it asks, are there requirements for it? I'll let you cover that in a little bit more depth, but I do want to note that Syracuse, our application materials and our requirements are all available online. We have, you need a transcript. We've actually just announced yesterday that we'll be going test optional for the upcoming application cycle, and that's for all of our programs. So SAT, ACT is no longer a strict requirement. It's up to you as to whether you wish to submit them or not. If you do submit them, we do super score. But Syracuse is a holistic review process. We don't have minimum GPAs, SATs, ACTs, things that you need to get to be accepted. We read application from cover to cover. We look at the essays, we look at short answer questions, we look at your transcript and the rigor of your curriculum and a lot of different pieces in review. So you can always contact the Office of Admissions directly if you want to talk a little bit more in detail about our application process. But for now, I'll let Wes touch a little bit more on the film major specifically.
So television, radio, and film. So if you are wanted to concentrate more on the film aspect. So as I said, there's kind of 3 areas that you can go to with television, radio, and film. If you want to be more of a screenwriter, we have that. If you want to be more of an editor or like producer, special effects. And then if you want to be more on the business side of things. Now, I know also College of Visual Performing Arts, they have a film program. And so while they do have the film program, both programs are great, but I will say Newhouse is we're more liberal arts based as you heard for us. So we require our students to take a little bit more in liberal arts and have them take classes outside of just within your specific area of film. But we've seen students in both find amazing jobs in both. A good way to talk about the television, radio, and film program and what our film is about. Our department chair in film likes to say, we want to make money in your area of film. So, they're basically going to be pushing it to make money off of it. Right. So if any of the films that you see, like from the Marvel series to, things that you have seen that are now coming out soon or now going on Netflix. You're seeing movies that are going directly to Netflix now and kind of going within that area. So they're teaching the students that aspect of film. So as I said, more screenwriting. And if you're looking for screenwriting, we see a lot of students pick up English and textual studies as their minor. For students who are doing editing, we often see them to go in the College of Visual Performing Arts and pick up like a minor in like art and animation. And then the business side, we see students go within your area of business and find that minor, which is there too.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Unless you had something you wanted to hit on, I think we're okay to wrap up.
Nope, that's it.
So, all right.
Like I said, if we didn't get to some of your questions, please attend the Newhouse info session. We can answer those questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. All 3 of the wonderful team members here, thank you so much for joining us tonight. All of our schools and colleges host different sessions. So if you want to find the ones that Wes was talking about, or Rachel or Iman, feel free to send us an email and we can help point you to the right websites. But just as a final note of thanks, we really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to join us tonight. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe and healthy. And we hope to welcome you to campus sometime soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.